Hi guys, this is our first book club. This month we've read The Great Reset and the War for the World by the controversial author and, I don't know how I describe him, podcaster or media personality, Alex Jones. I thought it was quite an interesting read. We've done a lot of stuff on The Great Reset in our usual podcast. This is our first book club, so bear with us. We're still trying to figure out a bit of a structure for them. But yeah, we thought we'd give it a go. Yeah, so what did you think of the book club, Con?
The book club?
I mean, the Great Reset.
Yeah. I liked it. The format was different for the book, definitely, because it's him doing analysis on different things that people have said in different books, mainly around Klaus Schwab. But yeah, I liked it. I enjoyed it. It was a really easy read, and it was just jam-packed full of straightforward content. It wasn't really much beating around the bush. It was all straight to the point and really insightful. I mean, we've discussed partway through reading it that we knew a lot of the stuff that was in there, just from, like you said, the amount that we've been doing on the podcast anyway. But I did feel like it was good just to read it all in just under 300 pages and have it all sort of condensed into one sort of. He put it into a nice structure where it was really understandable and it made sense.
It's kind of like what we were saying in the podcast on Tuesday. Like, we've sort of got to a point now where we can piece everything together in our heads. He's done it.
Yeah.
In the book, pieced it all together nicely. Everything that's happened, everything that people who support WEF have said, things the media have been saying. He sort of pieced it all together and sort of analysed each thing they're saying, which I thought was good, because he's not just coming out with statements. He's actually finding evidence, finding a statement that Klaus Schwab, for example, said, and then he's coming up with how he has interpreted what he's saying, which I thought was really good. One thing I sort of, well, it's not that I struggle with the book. It's I more struggled because I knew he was doing a book club, but I've been looking into the Great Reset away from the book as well. So I've got like things in my head and I'm thinking, did I read that in a book, or have I read it elsewhere or watched it in a video elsewhere? So
I guess that's because of maybe one of two reasons. We read the book just as it launched, or just as it launched on the Kindle version. I'm not sure if it's out as we're recording this physically, but you can get it on Kindle. But I think because when it launched and came out was as the Great Reset was progressing.
Yeah, like this month we've seen a lot of developments in like the movements. We're seeing them putting things in place and things happening in the global economy, global civilizations. Things are starting to happen. So our attention's been like purely focused on the Great Reset. So I think like just that crossing over with the book has sort of mashed things up in my head a little bit. So I don't know if I've read it in the book or read it elsewhere. But it's all pretty much falls in line with what the book's saying anyway.
Yeah. He definitely hit the spot with my knowledge and understanding of the Great Reset. He's definitely he's detailed everything I knew. I'm not saying I'm an expert on everything that I know, but everything I knew and more. There's nothing that he said where I've been a bit like, oh, well, I thought it was more like this. There's nothing that I can argue with him against.
Especially when it came to the more the things that happen presently.
Yeah.
I had a lot more understanding of that stuff than when he's talking about things that were being set up like in the 70s.
Yeah. Because he's talked about the war with Russia, he's talked about the food crisis, he's talked about the energy crisis.
Yeah.
Touched on financial crisis, which everyone's sort of living in at the moment.
Just to go back to one thing you said before, I think the book is out as a hard copy. It got #1 seller, I think, within 2 weeks.
Oh, right, okay. Oh,
#1 bestseller on Amazon.
Oh no, it says hardcover 27th of October, pre-order.
All right, well, the Kindle copy just must must have got #1 bestseller on its own then.
Yeah, must have been just through Kindle. That's insane.
So I think people are waking up to what's going on.
Yeah. Well, one thing I wanted to sort of just come in with before we actually get into a bit more detail with it is towards the end. I read the last chapter just before this call, and I just wanted to bring this up at the beginning, something that I read at the end of the book. And he's basically, after highlighting everything about the Great Reset and how bad it is for humanity, he states, how do we fight back against this darkness? And it's by bringing their plans into the light, shed light on the lies when you see them, write a letter to the editor, call up talk show radios, and use your online abilities to make your voice heard. So he's basically saying more people need to. We've talked about it on the podcast before. We're not seeing much of a pushback against this agenda, but I think I've questioned, well, how do people even push back? And it's by having these sort of conversations and just voicing our opinions on the matter to make sure this doesn't go ahead, and just trying to take people away from the herd mentality and bring them into sort of thinking about things themselves rather than what they're told by media outlets.
Yeah, it's just spreading awareness of what's going on. Like,
Yeah.
we might not be able to financially beat them, but through numbers, we are stronger than a select few people who think they can sort of dominate the world and take over.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if we don't go along with what they're saying, then they can't implement their plans, right?
Yeah.
So, one thing that stood out to me, like, if we've talked about the last chapter first, just this quote in it. It says, "The truth is like a lion. You don't have to defend it. Let it loose and it'll defend itself."
Yeah.
Which I thought's like fucking so relevant and such a strong quote in this day and age where we're being lied to sort of left, right and centre. We're being misguided by mainstream media. The truth is out there, and people like Alex Jones and Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson are spreading the truth. Yeah. And it's sort of just defending itself now. It's getting people on side, which, it's
the numbers are
a powerful quote.
Yeah, definitely. And well, he does bring it. I think the last chapter probably was my favourite chapter because of the way he concluded the whole sort of the movement of the Great Reset and how we should push back. But he does mention in the book, I think it was in the last chapter, how after providing all the evidence to go against this Great Reset being good for humanity, he just puts it quite simply where he states, I can't say exactly, I have to paraphrase it, but he says if it was good for humanity and they knew they were doing something good, why would they hide it for so long? Why would it be kept such a secret for this globalist movement? If they have to hide something, they can't. They must be feeling some sort of guilt or resentment behind doing it, that they don't feel like it's going to be accepted by everyone.
And why would they sort of misguide everybody into sort of blindly just following it rather than just being out and open? Like, it's true what you're saying is they don't need, if it's so good and humanity's going to prosper from it and they believe in it so much, then they'll just be out and open with it and let the public decide whether it's good for them or not.
Yeah, because the truth will speak for itself.
Yeah.
But they have to convince us that it's the right thing to take this. But
they're convincing us through bullshit, really.
Yeah, through questionable methods.
Yeah.
For sure. So what shall we just crack on and go over some bits in particular? I don't know where you want to start. Do you want to start with COVID and the impact that's had on accelerating?
Well, let's just talk about the I think the first few chapters are quite
introductory
to what the Great Reset is and how it's come about. And one thing reading through those chapters, I can't remember exactly what chapter it was in, that sort of stood out to me was they've basically used China as like a testing ground for their plans.
Yeah. Because they do mention within the book, this episode's actually going to be full of spoilers for anyone that's not read the book, but
Yeah.
more of a analysis than anything. Yeah, because he mentions that is it the CEO of Alibaba USA?
Yeah, he does mention the CEO of Alibaba.
Yeah, because they're the ones that created Alibaba China, or just general Alibaba, are the ones that created the technology for the social credit system that China have.
Yeah.
So I think he states somewhere, I think it was on a in an interview, he states that that same technology can be used over here in the US or the Western world.
Yeah, so I just thought it was like pretty crazy how they've implemented these things in China. I think they've worked with President Xi to put these plans in place. And they've obviously got business people in China who they're working with as well. And I just think it's mad how they've actually implemented what we're so worried about in the Western world is already happening in China.
In full force.
And if you want to have a look at what the Western world could be in 10 years' time, just have a look at China, and that's going to be us in the future. And it makes, when I read that, it made a lot of sense as to why these globalists are so pro-China.
Yeah, because they never say a negative word about China.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it kind of made me think back to when we did the China podcast, and everything that we were saying we thought China were doing to the West also falls in line with everything that we've like come to know about the Great Reset now. Like the culture war, especially the culture war, like they want to sort of, if they split off the population, they're easy to control. What's called divide and conquer.
Yeah.
Whereas we thought it was China behind it, but it's made me think, is it actually China behind it, or is it the globalists that are working with China?
Yeah, I think in hindsight as well, from when we did the China podcast, how long ago did we do it? Did we do it in August?
No, it was in June.
We recorded it in June.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, so there's been a lot that's changed from a Western point of view since June. And there's been a lot that's changed for us too as well, because we're obviously on this journey and we've figured out a lot more about the world. Doing things like reading this book is progressing us to basically put these pieces of the jigsaw together to realize that actually what you're saying there, what obviously China have done that to their country, but what with the assistance of the globalists of the West, the Western globalists, assist them just see how easy it is to implement, or what they do wrong there, or what it's quite hard to sort of figure out. But I don't see much pushback in China, apart from there was the when they locked him in the factories. That was
we looked at that on the podcast there when they locked him in the because the Apple factory.
Yeah, that's it. But I think there were multiple factories, weren't there, which were pushing back. But it's maybe they were using this sort of technique, to guinea pig technique, to look at their country and look at their.
I think the difference with China is they've come from communism and a dictatorship. Like that's all they've ever experienced.
Yeah.
So that population is a lot easier to manipulate and control than the Western population, who are used to freedom and thinking, like critically thinking. We've got a lot more critical thinkers than China do.
So it makes sense for them to try and push this into China first, because they can test their technologies out, they can test the processes out, the systems out. And then, obviously, in the book, he talks a lot about what's going on with Canada. And it sort of feels like it's spread from China, and now they're trying to push it in places like Canada and Ukraine.
Well, he mentions that in the book, how Klaus Schwab's goal was to start. Well, Klaus Schwab even said it. I think he quotes him in the book that he wants to infiltrate governments.
Mm.
So I think Macron, the French president, he's from the Young Leaders program, World Economic Forum Young Leaders program.
Yeah, Putin was.
Trudeau was from Canada. I think the president of Argentina was. So
there was a few other countries you mentioned there where the prime ministers are.
But bringing it to the UK, when there was this leadership contest in the Conservative Party recently, I just checked who was part of the World Economic Forum. I checked Rishi Sunak, he is, and I checked Liz Truss, and she is as well. So I was like, all right, if you even get in power, it doesn't fucking matter really at the end of the day.
Yeah,
same old bullshit.
It doesn't matter. It's all run by that. If you, for example, if you look at America, because America are the ones that push the whole initiative throughout the whole West, I wouldn't even say the West, probably the globe. If we're talking about China's involvement, the shit that's going on with Russia, the way US have destroyed that, might have destroyed that. It's looking more and more likely that USA destroyed the pipeline to push this initiative to take Europe off fossil fuels. But do you not reckon, obviously, since Trump come out of power, because I don't think Trump was anything to the most anti-Great Reset guy that's ever been in power.
Yeah, that's why the media
made everyone
brand him as this awful person, and the media pretty much brainwashed everybody. You can ask anybody on the street if they like Donald Trump and they'll say no.
Yeah.
The odd person will say yeah.
Yeah. So he's looked at outside of main media sources.
Yeah. But I think a lot of Americans are thinking, seeing what Biden's doing and they're not liking it. And America, they can turn the tide, I think, if they vote Trump back in. I think Trump's had enough of this bullshit, so I think he'll come in hard this time.
That's if he gets in, though. That's if the media allow it. Because they absolutely just sabotaged him. And if you look at Biden, who's in charge now, have you seen the videos of him when he's shake no one's hand? And
nobody, comedian stuff mainstream comedians, they don't take the piss out of him.
No. Because I think we talked about it on last podcast, they're scared now because they're coming down on comedians, aren't they?
But if it was Trump in power, everyone would be taking the piss out of him.
Yeah. Because they're scared of this. He's obviously Biden's not the one that's in control. It's this globalist, a superpower that's coming in, and they will kill people, I guess, when it comes to it.
But then the comedians who don't give a fuck are the ones who are on YouTube because they just crack on as if that's how comedians should be. That's comedians we used to watch on TV, Sacha Baron Cohen, for example. He just didn't give a fuck, and he would just take the piss out of everyone and everything.
Yeah.
Whether you're right wing, left wing, it doesn't really matter. Because when he's doing the LG show, he'd have pro-abortion people on and anti-abortion people on, and he'll just take the piss out of them both.
Yeah. He just got them all together in one room and ripped them all to shreds.
Yeah. Whereas these days you would never see that.
No.
You just see what the agenda is and what's being pushed on us, and the other thing that is against that gets ripped, and that's it.
Yeah, because this country, this company, the World Economic Forum and BlackRock and Vanguard, they don't just run media how most people think when you say, oh, they run media. Okay, they run CNBC, they run CNN, Fox, they run BBC, ITV, whatever. No, they run like Disney, they fund Netflix, they fund, well, Amazon's Amazon, who's Jeff Bezos is pretty much in there anyway. This company funds all of the entertainment, everything you consume is sort of funded or run by the World Economic Forum and these companies like BlackRock. And we've been talking about it quite a bit. If you just look at Disney as a prime example, that's not what people would consider media when you talk about media in the sense of sort of learning. It's more of an if you want to say call news media and then entertainment media. When you say media nowadays, you think about news media. So if they're going to detach themselves from the news and be like, fuck this, I'm just going to watch Disney movies and make myself feel a bit better. No, because that whole agenda is being pushed in another way through Disney.
In a more subliminal way.
Yeah.
Where it's it's noticeable to you and me, but to somebody who doesn't really
there's a few things
fully what's going on.
There's a few things there because you've said back in the day when we was a bit younger we used to watch LEG, and now we're comparing what's out now with LEG. So then there's people that don't really care about what's going on or don't know or don't have the time to like figure out what's going on. But then you've also got, we're comparing it to something, the world what it was before. There's people coming up the next generation, they've got nothing to compare it to, so they're just going to be seeing it for what's given to them, and that's normal for them. They might be comparing what's out now to what's in another 10 years, which will be even worse.
Yeah, that's true. It's like if we showed someone LEG who's say 16 now, they'll be like, this is well offensive. Like, it's not even funny.
Yeah. But why are you showing me this?
Yeah. And I'm like, what the fuck? This is the funniest thing.
Oh, God. But he doesn't really, in the book. Like,
so I think LEG is probably one of the funniest things.
Yeah.
In my lifetime.
I think I've like, you know, when I go through phases of watching things, I must have gone through the phase of watching that a good 4 times in my life. Different stages. But I mean, yeah, but bringing it back to the book, he doesn't really mention much about the culture war in the book.
So I was thinking about the culture war, and because I was thinking, my friend said to me the other day, "Oh, Jordan Peterson's like changed over this past couple of years," and I was thinking like back to what Jordan Peterson used to be like. He used to be very focused on the culture war, and not so much on the bigger picture. And I think what got me into sort of thinking the way I am is the culture war. Like I started noticing people getting cancelled and things I used to like, not like things aren't the same like when I was watching movies or watching TV programs or comedians. They're all seem to be heavily like censored and not as funny as it used to be.
Yeah.
But bringing it back to Jordan Peterson, I feel like he's sort of looking at the bigger picture and seeing the culture war as just a big sort of distraction now.
Yeah.
Where instead of focusing on fighting each other, we should be focusing on trying to bring everyone together and see what the bigger enemy is.
Yeah, you know.
I think a lot of people are missing that one because they're too caught up in this culture war, arguing about whether you should have abortion after 9 months, if you can have abortion at 9 months, or in 6 months, or in 3 months. Like, in the grand scheme of things, does it really matter if we've got this threat at the moment of corporations sort of taking over our lives?
Yeah, it's divide and conquer, isn't it? That's what they're doing. That's why I was confused on why he's not talked about the culture war, because it's not what we should be focusing on. I understand that, but it needs addressing that we shouldn't be focusing on that because that many people are focusing on that. It's that's their ploy. That's what they
Yeah.
are trying to put into it. That's why I thought you might have a. I think he did. He touched on bits and pieces of it, but he never had a big segment about it to actually say, "You guys need to realize that they want you to fight with each other. They want left versus right."
I think for such a honestly as well, I think the book felt a little bit unfinished in the sense I was expecting a chapter on. We spoke about this before as well. On how they're going to end up controlling the monetary system,
Yeah,
but there was sort of nothing. No, it touched on it in places, but there wasn't anything major. I was expecting a full chapter on that.
Mm.
Like you said, the culture war. You expected a bit more detail on that, but then I think for the size of the book, he's touched on the main points and got his point across.
yeah, that's true. Actually, I don't think the book could have been any longer. I don't think it needed like a full 400-page book on this. It needs to be digestible for people.
Yeah,
Um,
which I think is it's easy, a very easy read. If you could probably read in a week if you just smashed it out.
could probably read that thing in about 2 days, really, if you.
Yeah, if you do get sucked into it as well, where you can't put it down because you want to read.
Yeah,
Get to a chapter and then you want to read on.
yeah, and some of them as well because he's taken snippets out of interviews or snippets out of other people's books. You don't necessarily need to read that in as much depth as you want to read his analysis. So you can
Yeah,
sort of
so
skim through.
yeah, when it came to those bits, I was skimming through and then reading as well, like just getting
Yeah.
a gist of what the snippet was saying, and then reading what he had to say about it.
Yeah. Um, but on some of them, I find myself reading it and then sort of getting hooked into what, especially around the. We didn't check out to pronounce his name, but the author of *Sapiens*, Yuval Noah Harari. Probably not right, but in that, he's done a full chapter on this one guy, best-selling author of 3 books, or is it 4? 3 books, isn't it?
Yeah,
Um, if you haven't heard of *Sapiens* is a really popular book. I was a massive fan of *Sapiens* just because of how good the actual book is in the writing and how he articulates it. But his how Alex Jones deciphers what he's been saying can so easily go overlooked. So I was proper hooked on that chapter, and I was reading the snippets of his books carefully, then reading Alex Jones's
yeah.
analysis, and then going back and reading it again because I was just like, blows my mind how I didn't even pick up on
At the
this.
time when you read it, it's like you sort of don't really pick up on what his intentions are.
Mm. You sort of just take what he's saying as gospel.
Yeah, but as well, I will state I read *Sapiens* like before. I used to think about things as deeply as I
Yeah,
do now.
yeah, same here. Um, but it's scary though because I mean, well, yeah, books are a form of media, right? So they're putting these sort of messages into books, and then they have the ability to push these books out and make them the #1 bestseller. I can't see Alex Jones, the Great Reset book, being pushed out anywhere as near as um, Yuval's books.
Yeah, like it won't be pushed out by mainstream.
Yeah, but then it's got all
But
of these
it got
underlying
number one
messages.
bestseller, which I thought was pretty fucking good.
Hmm. But then the problem with it as well is Alex Jones. Like I've told a few people, quite a lot of people, I'm reading Alex Jones's Great Reset book and recommending it to people over this last month, and people have sort of looked at me and been like, "Why are you reading Alex Jones's book?"
Yeah.
because
He's misunderstood, Alex Jones, I think.
yeah.
Yeah, he's a wacky guy.
And to be fair, he is absolutely like fucking insane. But I think we were talking as we started reading it, and you said there's no way Alex Jones wrote this like himself, which is it's so clear because you can tell it's all of his ideas, but then someone
Articulated properly.
taken
Yeah.
them on, and spat out this, which is really easy to read.
Because when we first got it, I was thinking, oh, bloody, it's going to be a crazy book. This is.
But they still got that feel of Alex Jones through it as well.
Yeah, I think it's a really good book. Like it's articulated Alex Jones, perfect. Like easily digestible for anybody just to pick up and have a read.
Yeah.
I think even if you don't like Alex Jones or you've got like prior conceptions of Alex Jones that are like negative or whatever, I think it's still worth a read and just read it with an open mind. Because it does, he's not just spouting nonsense. There's cold hard like facts in there. There's cold hard statements in there from people in the WEF and media that back up what Alex Jones is saying. And all he's doing is analysing what they're saying. So
yeah. It's not. He's not a mad guy with some mad conspiracy theories in this book. He is literally just got a paragraph, mainly from Klaus Schwab's book, and he's just basically deciphering it and saying this shit is as scary as it sounds. What they're trying to do.
And he's put a lot of hard work into the book, I think.
Yeah.
He's had to analyse all this information and all these statements properly and find them, put them in the book, and make sure what he's saying is all backed up. Which I think he's learned his sort of lesson from. I know that the big controversy is that Sandy Hook stuff that he said.
Yeah.
But I think he might have learned his lesson from that. Just don't fucking shout stuff without any reasonable evidence.
Yeah. I get that. Yeah. Well, he's cancelled anyway, so But that's what he sort of preaches in the book as well. Is like the way it's going is as people grow now. So, for example, as our channel grows, we're more likely to get cancelled than Joe Rogan, for example, because he grew before cancelling was a thing. But because we will get silenced because they don't. As we were saying at the beginning, more people need to stand up and speak. It's quite easy for them who run all of the media outlets that we can publish on. It's quite easy for them just to push the button one day and say no more of you.
Well, they've done it to. They've not fully done it to Russell Brand, but they took down one of his videos.
Yeah.
And oh no, did it? Yeah, they didn't take down a video, and then he realized he said something wrong in that video, so he put out a video apologizing for it. And then they took down that video. So then Russell Brand took down the apology video and then released a video saying, "We're moving to Rumble."
Yeah, what happened there with his thing?
Yeah. So, like, there's these alternative platforms that are growing in popularity. So if we do end up getting taken down from YouTube, and to be honest with you, like saying it now on the podcast, it might be worth us just putting it on there anyway.
Do you reckon Rumble's the one to go?
But if Russell Brand's like
taking
moving people on there, like there's going to be traffic diverting there already. For just through him, so we can jump on the back of that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's definitely worth looking into actually.
Because I think we could put the clips on. Wait, it's not a business meeting; it's a book club.
Yeah, we'll pick it up after.
We'll talk about it after the podcast.
Yeah. Job alternative. Yeah. So what else? There's obviously he has full chapters on the food crisis, which we're currently in the
Yeah.
UK. We're seeing heavily at the moment, and then he's got a chapter on the energy crisis, which we're in the UK. We're seeing heavily too.
But yeah, he talks about in the food crisis about like the current food shortages,
Yeah.
fertilizer from Ukraine. I think Ukraine used to be the biggest producer of fertilizer in the world.
Was it wheat
Obviously
as
that's,
well?
yeah, I think wheat. I think he talks about Holland and the farmers' process there.
Yeah.
Saying they're producing too much nitrogen, which is all stuff like I already knew beforehand, but it's sort of good just to read it, have it condensed into one chapter, and just give it a good read.
Yeah. 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 What I liked about was it in the food shortages when he was talking, he was getting snippets from people who are in the trucking industry and how fucked that industry is beyond fixable.
Yeah.
Um,
He talks about the protest in Canada, doesn't he?
yeah,
And when Trudeau stopped all the GoFundMe account,
oh
all the
yeah,
donations going to the truckers. Um,
yeah. So I guess
this is
in there
where
he touches on how they're going to control money, right?
I expected more of like a deeper chapter on the money system.
The financial crisis.
Yeah, and digital currencies and that side of things. But yeah, I just thought because there's three things like I think he mentions in the book.
Yeah, a quote from someone, isn't it?
To control, there's three things that control energy,
food, and money.
food, and money. I can't remember what the actual quote is. Is it to control the people? You control the food supply.
Is here to who controls the food supply controls the people. Who controls the energy can control whole continents. Who controls money can control the world. This is
Yeah.
the quote.
Whereas I thought like he's done two chapters: the Great Reset of energy, the Great Reset of food.
Yeah.
And I thought he would. I thought the next chapter after that would have been the Great Reset of money.
Yeah, but thinking back, he did mention a lot about a monetary system, in terms of how once they own your bank account, the digitization of your bank account, then there's no longer a such thing as money. It then becomes credits.
Mm.
That just came to me then. Yeah, I forgot about that part. But yeah, so he talks about it being everything being on a credit, and that just comes back to their slogan: "You'll own nothing and you'll be happy."
Yeah.
Because everything's on a credit system with them.
And he talks about the digital gulag as well.
Yeah. So if you're pissing around and misbehaving, then they'll shut your money off. Like you've said it before numerous times. If you drive too much, they'll stop you buying petrol.
Yeah. As well, I'm not sure if I read this in a book or I heard it elsewhere, but basically saying that what will happen is, I think it was in the book. I think it's one of the last chapters. You have the cities that will be run by the WEF, and then on the skirts of the cities will be where people live free.
Yeah, nomads.
Yeah. Is this in the book?
No, but oh yeah, I think it is in the near the end. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, he basically said, I'll be somebody who lives on the outskirts of the city and live like a free life, but I won't live as the people do in the city.
Yeah.
Which I thought was pretty interesting. Like looking at 1984, for example, I feel that's a good
Yeah.
comparison to where you can see the future heading. they had the what are they called? The
Protest.
prawns.
Let's have a look. Um, the lower class.
Yeah, like the people who live in, like basically live a free life, and they're not.
Can't find what they're called. Yeah, but I know what you mean.
Are they called prawns? I'm sure.
It's short for something like that.
Proles, I think they're called. The lowest level of society. Proletariat.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, it kind of reminded me of that in the
Yeah.
sense they probably won't live a life where you work on the computer, just live like. Do you know how we look at what they called in America? Those gears who don't use any. What are they called?
Amish or Amish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like how we look at Amish is what people in like the cities will look at
Yeah.
those people.
Yeah, and then the classed as lowest level of society in 1984 or in I was gonna say like 50 years time, but it's more like 10 years time when it's actually all in place. If it goes ahead, then they the people within the city, so the people that are part of this and the Great Reset initiative, the people that are I don't know what you would call them, like the pawns of the whole thing, they'll look at us and think we're
We're better than
living.
them.
No. Like they think they're better than us.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll think they're better than us. They'll think we're living a horrible life because we've not got the car that the World Economic Forum have given us. We've not got the house that they've given us. We grow our own food. We just live on our own. We don't even own a car.
Yeah.
They won't see it. They think we're unhappy. They'll laugh at us when really their whole life is just going to be controlled.
Yeah, exactly. This is probably what Amish people think now about people look at them and think, oh, they've not even got a car.
Yeah.
But if you've been brought up with that lifestyle of just doing that, then you don't know any better.
Yeah. Yeah, you've got to come out of it to realize it. For sure.
But yeah, I thought that was interesting, like take on it that he said. People live in the cities will be controlled by the WEF, and the people who live out of the cities won't be.
Does that make you want to get out of the city even more?
Mm. It'd be a hard life living out of the Great Reset because it's not a life that we're used to.
Yeah, we're not used to it, and there'll be no systems in place to help. Do you know, like now or in previous years, there's been systems in place to help people.
Yeah, it would be like going back 100 years
Yeah,
and like consciously choosing to do that, which I think is a fucking difficult decision, but it's something that you have to sort of think long and deep about. Do you want to be sort of brainwashed, and do you want to be an individual, or do you want to be just the same as everybody else?
yeah, yeah. Do you want to be your own person? Do you want to be herd mentality, or do you want to
Yeah.
think for yourself, be creative for yourself, enjoy the finer things in life rather than this consumerism, materialistic life that the World Economic Forum are just pushing on everyone.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable when you actually look at life in the way it is at the moment and compare it to what we're finding out now progressively about the World Economic Forum and how much of a role these globalists have played just to where we are now today. It's uncomfortable.
Yeah. I think it's a hard decision to make because you'll have people around you who will choose the easy option.
Yeah, well, that's like that now anyway. Okay, so it's like what you were saying before about Donald Trump. You ask anyone, they'll say they hate Donald Trump, but you say, actually, I think the media had him off a bit, and I think he had some good points that you were raising. They'll be like, "What the fuck? I don't not want to talk to you."
Yeah.
Herd mentality, but look, most people you know are going to fall into it unless there's a big enough pushback.
Is that one thing that pissed me off a bit recently? And I've only thought about it like this past week or two. People were like complaining about the government spending, well, I think it's like 500 mil or something on the Queen's funeral. Was it about that much?
Yeah, some shit like that.
But then if you look how much money they're giving to Ukraine to prolong this war, but no one's fucking complaining about that.
There are some people complaining about it.
Yeah, no, but there's not, the same people who are complaining about 500 mil on a funeral aren't complaining about
billion.
The supporting the UK funding this war in Ukraine.
Yeah, it's like $1 billion summit that they're sending every month on a retainer.
Yeah, something stupid, like some stupid amount.
Yeah.
So, like, people were using the argument that the Queen's funeral is costing this much, and there's people, and we're in an energy crisis, and people are going to be cold and shit in winter and not going to be able to heat their houses.
Yeah, whereas they're spending 1 billion to fund the energy crisis.
Which is fund something that's causing the energy crisis.
Yeah.
When at the end of the day, I feel like the UK government should be looking after the UK people, not no matter how like the war's fucked up. Like, I'm not pro war or pro Russia or anything, but like we're funding something that's not really got anything to really do with us. And I know there's loads of history there and everything, but at the end of the day, we should be looking after our people first.
Yeah, but they're funding so much money, which I don't even know where this money's actually coming from, because I don't think we even have that much money. But from somewhere, I don't know where this looking like. I think it's nearly 2 billion a month. I don't know where the fuck that's been pulled out of. But obviously they're just going to keep printing and keep printing and keep printing, and the energy is just going to get more and more fucked up because they want us off fossil fuels. So they want us on this digital currency system. So they're just going to keep printing money and let the whole thing collapse, let the energy collapse. Obviously the energy crisis has an impact on the food shortages amongst all the other shit that's going on as well. Them three things which we mentioned in that quote are all going to collapse due to, not due to the war, but due to what the UK's role is in that war and what the US's role is in that war.
Yeah.
It's all going to collapse, and then Klaus Schwab's going to be like, shit, it's all gone bad, but we can help you here.
Yeah, we can fix it.
Just sign up now. Everyone's going to be fucked. No one's going to have any money. Everyone's going to be cold as shit. Everyone's going to be hungry. And then they're going to be like, right, well, we can help, actually. And then they'll supply us with food. I think there was a bit about Bill Gates in there, why he's buying up all this farmland, because he's going to be the one that runs the food industry. You've got fucking Bill Gates, Microsoft, and then fucking World Health Organization leader or some whatever he thought he was. And then what did he do with what did he do after that? So he did the Health Organization shy. He was pushing some other agenda. I forgot what it was. And now he's going to be a farmer. He's I'm getting. To be fair, right? But just after COVID, his wife left him, didn't she? Or he
Yeah.
divorced or whatever. Melinda. I would like to know why they split up because it was after COVID. It was after Jeffrey Epstein's island.
Stuff, yeah.
But then he's obviously riding shotgun on this great reset with Klaus Schwab. Um, he knows shit that we don't know. Believe him because he's a powerful man there.
Because I remember before, I think it was like 2 months before COVID, like originally started in like November. It might have been a month before. I think it was when I just moved down to London. I was watching, do you know, Netflix Explained, and they did something on the pandemic, and Bill Gates was all over it. You've gone on mute, Cam.
Sorry, yeah, he was front and center for this.
Yeah, and this was before the pandemic even started, and he was calling, like, saying that a pandemic is just around the corner.
Hmm. And then he was the leading figure throughout the pandemic. He was the one everyone was listening to.
Yeah.
Because they said that they had a divorce because of his meetings with Epstein. But I think there's more about this Epstein shite than.
Yeah, I think there's something, this Epstein thing's, there's something.
There's more than just all these fucking elites. There's more than just the elites that were doing underage shit with underage people. I think there's more to it.
Yeah. I don't know what though. I've not really looked that deeply into it all.
Well, what was that thing that Alex Jones went to that time?
The Bohemian.
Bohemian what? Grove.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. I don't know how the fuck Alex Jones got there. Well, I'm just going to share my screen. But there's like this one here with all these ex-leaders in. But that wasn't the one, obviously, Alex went into. He went into this. There was that video, weren't there? And they were sacrificing something, or they had some weird fire up. Have you looked
It's like some satanic shit, isn't it?
Yeah, satanic shit with all these leaders. Have you looked into this Bohemian Grove?
No, but I'm gonna.
Yeah, it just leads me to feel like there's more to that Epstein stuff than what meets the eye. It's suspicious.
I need to look. I want to look into more about Epstein. I've watched a Netflix documentary, and that's about it.
Yeah, that just doesn't really delve. It's not really Epstein. It's what he had created, which we need to look into. What was
Yeah, what was going on with the elites?
Yeah, which is a question for everyone, though, isn't it? At this moment in time.
All right, so
Yeah.
on the last podcast, I know this is book club, but I'm just going to relate it back to that. Had this question, and I thought it might be quite fitting for this episode. Maybe it's something we can end on now.
Okay. We're down for an hour.
Yeah, that's decent time for a book club, I think.
Yeah.
Where do you see the metaverse fitting in with the Great Reset?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I was going to bring up last podcast, but I thought now we've read the book, maybe it's a good time just to bring up in the book club and like.
What? Yeah, because that brings me to another, like, a side question: is what the fuck happened to the metaverse? Because that shit was all over the every single.
Yeah, this time last year it was everywhere, wasn't it?
That was everywhere, and then it just dropped off.
Yeah, it seems to have gone quiet now.
Is that just the way we are at the moment, though, as a society? That we just move on to something else?
Yeah, we look like whatever's popping at that time gets spoken about a lot.
Yeah.
I don't think it's over though because
No, it can't be over because
Zuckerberg was. Did you watch Zuckerberg, Rogan?
yeah, I didn't listen to it all though. But I've listened to it enough to know he's all in on metaverse.
Yeah, he's literally all in on it. So, and then there's Bill Gates saying that last year. I think he said that the metaverse will be working out the metaverse within 3-4 years or something like that.
So the only thing I can really, coming off the back of the book and trying to keep it somewhat alive with the book in the book club session, is he was talking about how they're going to have increased lockdowns, so they definitely want more lockdowns. They want to get to a point where your children are at home, they're learning from a computer. They basically, for this to work, and if you want to resort to 1984 as well, I think it's good that we didn't read it too long ago, that because it links together so well. Is they were being monitored in their home. They were rationed with food. They had to be at home at certain times to log on to the TV thing. The TV in 1984 basically represents the internet today.
Yeah.
So the only way I can sort of piece it together is the metaverse is something you'll have to log onto from your home in order to get points in your system or whatever. But it's to keep you home and keep you basically, if you're living life through your Oculus, they're feeding you exactly what you need to be fed.
Yeah, whatever they want to feed you, they can feed you like through that.
We can shut our computer down and go meet up with you in the pub and have a conversation. In the metaverse, who knows how it's going to be controlled? Your conversations.
Your conversations will be censored.
I mean, but it'll be 1984 where they'll always be monitored, so you wouldn't actually be. The fucking hell, actually, this is coming in my head now. But they could control your thoughts.
Piecing up in my head now as well.
They could control your thoughts because you can't do shit without someone knowing exactly what you're doing. Maybe it's the only way for them to really change your thought is to have you immersed into this computer system, and you don't go to the pub with your friends. You crack open a beer which has been delivered to you by Amazon to your home, and you drink it in the metaverse by Facebook with your fucking digital currency.
If thinking about that world, it sounds fucking awful.
It sounds awful, but it doesn't sound that far away.
No.
Oh shit. So for you to ask that question, did you have a thought on it before?
No, I didn't think too much about it because I wanted to brainstorm it with you. But you've summarised it now. You answered it nicely.
That was all just, as I said one thing, another thing pops in my head after it just expanded into this dystopian future of. Have you read Ready Player One?
No, it's on my.
Oh right. Well, I'm going to spoil a little bit of it, but it's not that big of a spoiler. There's a point so he progressively lives in a Oculus world, but he makes money online and he gets more and more hooked into this world. And then I think there's a scene in there where he's just in his room in his 1-bedroom flat, and he's hungry whilst he's playing it, so he orders food in the game, and then it comes to his door, and he doesn't even have to log out of his system before he's eating the food.
All right, that's fucking weird.
So it's all connected, and if you look at things like the way Amazon's doing groceries,
so you could be eating anything.
Amazon's doing groceries. They want you to eat synthetic food. Is it called synthetic food?
Yeah, synthetic meats.
Yeah. Yeah, you shouldn't have asked me that question because that's.
I think I'm going to opt for the live out of the city life.
Yeah, fuck that. Shit. It's
Learn how to farm.
look. I was saying it last podcast. You've just said it there. Like, how does the metaverse link to it? With anything like that, we can point it to the Great Reset quite easily.
Yeah.
Anything that's happening at the moment can all be anything that the media is pushing as a big thing, we can point it towards the Great Reset. Everything, and it stems back from years ago, just because the way advertisement was run. Because these globalists have been planning this shit for years, haven't they?
Yeah. Talking about advertisements, I listened to Tim Pool. Do you listen to him?
No, I don't really listen to him though. I've never really given him a good chance, but you always listen to him.
Yeah, I listen to him like a couple of his pods a week, probably. He was saying like you can see things are coming to an end and things are changing because he's managed to get advertisement space on Times Square, and he said it was dirt cheap.
Oh right.
So he keeps advertising on Times Square.
You know, should we check how much it is and put alternative on?
I think dirt cheap in the sense of Times Square, but not dirt cheap for us.
It costs more than ad spend.
It's like he's going to do an advertisement on there on New Year's Eve, he's saying.
But that would be expensive.
What's that?
That would be expensive.
Yeah, but I think you're saying like from what it should be, it's not that as expensive.
Yeah. So
he's got like a couple of billboards around Times Square, which I thought was pretty mad.
I think marketing advertisements going to be left behind because everything's going to be monopolized into a sense where you don't actually need anything. You're not going to be in a place where you can compare an item from Sainsbury's to an item at Asda. You're just going to get it off Amazon groceries.
Yeah.
And a drone will come to your window and drop it off.
There's going to be 5 companies.
Yeah. Anything to keep you in your home doing what they say, and they'll call it convenience.
Yeah.
It's convenient. And everyone's like, yeah, but it's convenient. Because the pandemic came across. He says it in the book. All of these companies shut down, all these small companies that were they weren't even a threat to the Amazons and the Asdas and even that size. But they all shut down because they were just doing something which they didn't want them to do.
Yeah.
They weren't making loads of money. They were probably a lot of them were just making enough to live off. And they were just happy, content, but they don't want that. They don't want people to have that life.
Yeah, they're shutting down businesses, and keeping open the big ones.
Yeah.
Like, you could go to a supermarket, but you couldn't go
to a newsagent.
I think newsagents stayed open, didn't they?
I don't know.
But you couldn't go like to a supermarket that sells clothes, for example. You could go in there, but then you couldn't go to a little boutique shop on your high street that sells clothes. So they have to shut down. I've already seen like Italian that we used to go to around here. Like it was open, like pre-COVID, obviously. Then after the first big lockdown, it opened back up, and then just before they locked down in winter, me and Emma said, "Oh, we'll go there like as a last thing because everything's going to close tomorrow." So we went there, and then we wanted to go back when everything opened back up again, and it was gone.
Ah, man, sad, isn't it?
It was only a small place, probably like 5 or 6 tables in there. Yeah, it's just a bit sad. I liked it because it had that like home feel to it.
Yeah.
Where like the waitresses are all like family, so they're all proper like like nice and stuff.
Yeah.
Not like just been hired to work at fucking Bella Italia or something and just doing the job.
Yeah. Well, now all of them family-owned places have shut down, and then because they had to lock everything down for so long, the hospitality industry's gone a bit tits up because you've got all these unexperienced people.
Yeah. So when we went to the horses last year, and there was like one guy, there was about 6 people behind the bar, and they're all just like they've just turned 18.
Yeah.
None of them knew how to pour a pint. Right, they're pouring it with like half a pint, half head.
Yeah.
And then there was one guy behind the bar who knew how to pour a pint, and he was like trying to show them how to pour a pint. It was a proper like shambles. But even now, when you go to the pub and order a Guinness, like it's like these inexperienced staff, they don't know how to pour a Guinness.
Yeah, it wasn't. The
Pour it straight
Guinnesses
through.
aren't the same anywhere as they were pre-COVID.
Yeah, they just pour them straight through, and like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah. I think I've not been drinking that much Guinness since. Yeah, just before we finish, though, I had this quote up. I wanted to read it when we was on about energy before. I thought it was quite good from the book. So you'll remember it when he's talking about the problem, like getting us off fossil fuels basically and putting us to clean energy, green energy. But it's not the rushing to do it, and we don't know if like this is what I'm taking from it. We don't know if the war with Russia has pushed it on so fast that it's faster than they thought it was going to be.
Yeah,
But they're sort of like you can either put the cards in or out. You can't slow it down. You're either in doing it or you're not doing it.
yeah,
And we're not ready to go off fossil fuels. The world isn't. And then he put this quote. It's as if you devise a plan to jump off your roof and land safely onto 1,000 pillows, except the pillows haven't arrived from the store yet. When he wrote down, cracking up loads.
It's
So
also-
true.
He's got like a couple of them metaphors in there where he's done stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which it gives you that Alex Jones like feel.
When he even put that, I was laughing for ages. So yeah, should we wrap it up?
Yeah, wrap it up. So I recommend the book to anyone and everyone.
Yeah.
And if you've read it, tell other people to read it. Get the word out there.
Christmas is coming up, so buy them for your stocking fillers for your kids.
Work for your kids,
Buy them for
Yeah.
Christmas presents though.
brothers, sisters, wives, partners, aunties, uncles, everyone.
Like and subscribe and send you one.
Alex Jones, if you want to come on the pod,
Oh
let
yeah.
us know.
Come and talk a bit further. We have got some. In fact, if Alex Jones did want to come on the podcast, then we have got some questions that we want to go into a little bit deeper, which I didn't go into as deep on the book. So that'll be good. But thank you, Alex Jones, for releasing the book.
Yeah, great book. I already gave it 5 stars on Amazon.
Oh yeah, I did. I give it 5 stars when I was about 2 chapters in. But yeah, more people, I suppose, just need to wake up and just learn. Just learn about this stuff. Our next book is Tribe. So we'll be reading that from now through till the end of October, and then we will probably. It's quite short, so we'll probably release an episode on that towards the end of October.
Yeah. All right. Nice one, guys.
Thank you for tuning in.
See you later.
See ya.